Imagine waiting years for someone you love to come home. You count the days, the months, the years, hoping every morning that today will be the day you finally see them again. But what if, when they walk through that door, everything you dreamed of is not what you get? What if the person you love returns to a home that has changed and not for the better? This is the story of a soldier, a man who left everything behind to serve his country. Years went by, letters were exchanged, promises whispered over phone calls, and hope never died. He was coming home, finally. The excitement was electric, but so was the nervousness. Would his family still be the same? Would they remember him as he remembered them? His heart was pounding with every step closer to the place he called home. But what he walked into was not the welcome he expected. This isn't just a story about a reunion. It's about love, loss, and the harsh truth that sometimes, coming home is the hardest journey of all. He left home with a promise in his heart to protect his country and, most importantly, to come back to the family he loved. The years stretched long and hard. Months turned into seasons, and seasons into years. Each day away was a silent battle against loneliness and fear. There were moments when hope flickered like a distant light, almost out of reach, but he clung to it tightly. His family back home wasn't perfect. They never claimed to be. His mother was strong but tired, holding the household together with quiet determination. His father had his own struggles, sometimes distant, sometimes present, but always part of the complicated web that was their life. And then there were his siblings, one who looked up to him like a hero, and another who felt forgotten, lost in the shadows of all the waiting and worry. Before he left, their home was filled with a messy kind of love. The kind that made mistakes, said the wrong things, but still held on. They laughed, they fought, and they dreamed. The soldier dreamed too. He dreamed of the day he'd walk back through the front door, of hugs that would erase the years apart, of picking up where they left off as if no time had passed at all. He pictured family dinners, stories shared late into the night, and the warmth of being surrounded by people who truly knew him. In his mind, everything was waiting for him, unchanged and ready. But life doesn't always wait, and sometimes what you imagine doesn't match reality. While he was away, his family faced battles of their own, challenges that tested their bonds and changed the very fabric of their lives. And though he had fought for his country, there was another fight waiting for him back home, one he could never have prepared for. This is a story about all those years lost in between, about the hope that kept him going, and the heartache that no one expected. The day he finally boarded the plane, his heart felt like it might burst. Years of waiting had led to this moment, the trip home. As the wheels lifted off the ground, his mind raced with memories and questions. What would his mother look like now? Would his father still be the same man he remembered? What about his siblings? Had they grown up as much as he imagined? He pictured the smiles, the hugs, the tears of joy. But alongside that hope was a quiet whisper of doubt. What if things weren't the way he left them? What if the distance had created cracks too deep to fix? The thought made his chest tighten. On the journey, every passing mile brought a mix of excitement and nervousness. He replayed old conversations in his mind, wondered if his family had kept his room the same, if the neighborhood looked familiar. He thought about the stories he would tell, the laughter they would share, the way he'd finally belong again. Yet, beneath it all, a shadow of uncertainty lingered. Years away had changed him, and maybe, in ways he couldn't see, it had changed them too. When the plane touched down, he took a deep breath and stepped out into the world he once knew. The air felt different here, thicker with memories and silence. The taxi ride to his home was quiet, the streets seeming both familiar and strange. Houses he remembered looked newer, some worn down. Faces passed by, strangers and neighbors alike, but none that made his heart leap. And then, finally, he stood outside the house where he grew up. His hands trembled as he reached for the door, the moment he had dreamed of for so long now unfolding before him. But as the door opened, something felt off. The air was heavy, the silence was too loud. The welcome he expected was nowhere to be found. He had planned it as the perfect surprise. No calls, no warnings, just him, standing on the doorstep after years away. The moment the door creaked open, his heart leapt. There she was, his mother. Her eyes widened, her hands froze mid-motion, and for a heartbeat he thought she might faint from shock. But then, instead of the warm embrace he had dreamed of, she stepped back, her smile tight and uneasy. "Mom," he said softly, stepping inside. The house looked smaller somehow, the walls quieter than he remembered. The familiar smells were there, faint and faded. His father appeared next, but there was no joy in his eyes, just a sharp glance that quickly turned away. His brother and sister stood nearby, but they didn't rush forward. Their faces were guarded, like strangers who knew him but didn't quite trust him anymore. "Why didn't you tell us you were coming?" his mother asked, her voice trembling but firm. He shrugged, trying to hide the knot growing in his stomach. "I wanted it to be a surprise." There was a pause, heavy and awkward. The room felt smaller, tighter, like the walls were closing in. Then he noticed it, the silence. No laughter, no tears of joy, just quiet. And something else, a tension he couldn't place. His sister avoided his gaze, fiddling with her hands. His brother's jaw was clenched, like he was holding back words. His father's eyes darted around the room, as if searching for an escape. "Where's Dad?" the soldier asked, his voice cracking slightly. "Right here," his father muttered, but didn't meet his eyes. It was then that the soldier realized this wasn't the homecoming he had imagined. Something had changed, something deep. He felt like a stranger in his own house. Questions flooded his mind. Had they moved on without him? Was there a secret he didn't know? Why was the warmth gone? The family's mixed reactions, joy, confusion, and something else, made him realize the years away had left wounds deeper than he thought. And in that moment he understood that the hardest battle might not have been overseas. It was the battle waiting for him right here at home. The days after his surprise arrival were filled with silence and uneasy conversations. The soldier wanted answers, but every time he tried to ask, the walls seemed to close in tighter. It was like walking through a fog, where every step revealed more questions than answers. Slowly, the truth began to surface. His mother had been struggling to keep the family afloat. The long nights she spent working extra jobs, trying to pay bills and hold back tears. His father had grown distant, battling demons the soldier had never seen before. Anger, regret, and a growing bitterness that no one talked about. His siblings had changed too. His brother, once full of life, had dropped out of school and taken on odd jobs to help the family. His sister had grown quiet, carrying a sadness that made her eyes look older than her years. But the hardest truth came when his mother sat him down one evening. Her voice shook as she spoke, eyes filled with tears. "Your father, he hasn't been the same since you left," she said. "He made mistakes. Things happened." The soldier's heart raced. "Mistakes? What kind?" She hesitated, then revealed the secret that shattered everything. "Your father, he was unfaithful. There was someone else. And when you came back, it's been hard for all of us to face it." The soldier's world tilted. Betrayal, a word he never expected to hear in his own home. He felt anger flare up inside him, a fire burning through years of waiting and sacrifice. But there was something else too, sadness. For the family torn apart by pain, for the father he once looked up to, and for the love that had been broken. His father finally admitted it too, tears streaming down his face. He spoke of loneliness, guilt, and regret. How the soldier's absence had left a hole too big to fill. How he'd tried to be strong, but had failed. For the first time, the soldier saw his father not as a hero, but as a flawed man, broken, lost, but still trying. The siblings watched, tears in their eyes, as the family's truth spilled out like a river long dammed. It was a painful reckoning, but also a beginning. The soldier wrestled with his emotions, anger, confusion, betrayal. Yet, beneath it all, there was a flicker of understanding. The years away had changed everyone, not just him. Despite the hurt, he found moments of hope. When his mother hugged him tight, whispering that they would heal. When his sister smiled shyly, as if realizing he was still her brother. When his father begged for forgiveness, promising to fight to be better. The road ahead wouldn't be easy, but the soldier realized that coming home wasn't just about picking up where he left off. It was about facing the truth, however painful, and choosing to love anyway. In the darkest moments, sometimes hope is the bravest thing you can hold on to. After the truth spilled out, the house felt different, not empty, but raw and real. The soldier and his family were standing at a crossroads, facing wounds that had been hidden too long. It was clear that nothing would go back to the way it was. The road ahead was uncertain, but it was theirs to walk together. They began to talk. Really talk. Not just the easy words, but the hard ones, the apologies, the regrets, the fears. It wasn't comfortable. Sometimes it was painful. But every conversation peeled back the walls they'd built, brick by brick. The soldier saw his mother's strength in a new light. She had carried them through the storm, quietly holding the family's fragile pieces together. His father showed a vulnerability he'd never seen before, his flaws laid bare, but with a fierce desire to make things right. And his siblings. They opened up too. The brother who had tried so hard to be the man of the house, finally let down his guard. The sister found her voice again, sharing the loneliness she'd felt without him. In the middle of all this brokenness, the soldier discovered a kind of strength he hadn't expected. It wasn't the kind of strength that you show on a battlefield, the kind that comes from muscle and training, or the rush of adrenaline. No, this strength was quieter but far harder. It was the strength it takes to forgive, to stay when everything inside you wants to run away, to open your heart to pain, disappointment, and still believe that healing is possible. He realized that love isn't always simple. It doesn't come wrapped in perfect moments or clear answers. Sometimes love is messy. Sometimes it's the very thing that breaks you before it can put you back together. Family can hurt you in ways no one else can. But it can also be the place where you find your way back. The place where healing begins, even when everything seems lost. There were days when the weight of it all was almost too much to bear. Days when anger flared inside him like a wildfire, burning through years of hope and dreams. He would find himself staring into the distance, fighting tears that wouldn't stop falling, feeling like hope was slipping farther away with every breath. Sometimes the silence in the house felt so loud it crushed him. But then slowly, little moments started to break through the darkness. A meal shared around the same old table, where for a brief moment, laughter bubbled up and filled the empty spaces. A quiet hug late at night, when words failed but hearts spoke anyway. A smile exchanged between siblings who had been strangers for too long. Those small things became their lifeline, the fragile threads that held them together even when everything felt like it was falling apart. The soldier understood something important. Coming home wasn't the neat, perfect ending he had imagined for so long. It wasn't a simple story with a happy reunion and everything falling back into place. No, it was messy. It was painful. It was confusing. But above all, it was real. And sometimes real life doesn't come wrapped in easy answers or perfect moments. It comes in struggles and tears, in forgiveness and second chances. Family isn't just about memories or promises made in better times. It's about facing the hard truths, even when they hurt the most. It's about standing together through storms that seem endless. It's about choosing love, even when that choice feels impossible. That night, as the soldier sat in that room, with the people who were both his greatest challenge and his greatest blessing, something shifted inside him. For the first time in a long time, he felt something warm and steady growing in his chest. Hope, not the kind of hope that's loud and sure, but the quiet, stubborn kind that says, maybe, just maybe, things can get better. Because even after the darkest, coldest nights, the dawn always comes, and with it the chance to begin again. This story reminds us that family isn't always perfect, and sometimes coming home means facing hard truths. But even in pain and disappointment, there is room for forgiveness, healing, and hope. Love isn't about forgetting the past. It's about finding the strength to keep moving forward together. If this story touched your heart, please like the video and share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe for more real, emotional stories that remind us what it means to be human. Thank you for listening and being part of this journey. There are many more stories ahead, stories that will make you feel, think, and maybe even heal. Stay with us.